Evening, everybody. It's 6:29, and this is your closing comment for today, Thursday, the 5th of January. I waited a little bit because I wanted to see what the reopens were going to be on the futures because, for the most part, they were all over the place. For example, the oil was up 83 cents, but gold was down 18.40. Silver was down 54 cents. Nat gas was down 45 cents. Bitcoin was up 60, and the dollar was stronger, even though the bonds did absolutely nothing. This was all about good news for the economy being bad news for the market. The numbers that came out today were as follows: ADP increased payrolls 235,000, and the expected number was 153,000. So that's a pretty big number, especially when you consider how tight things have gotten. And what was even more interesting in the ADP numbers were that the bigger the business, the worse the layoff. We actually had gains in some of the small cap companies, small businesses. Then claims came out at 204, down 19 for initial claims, also a bigger than expected number, and a decline in new filings. And 1.694 was also a decline in continuing claims. Those numbers were just horrendous as it relates to the market. This morning, when I started talking about these things, the Dow had gone from up 36 at 7:30 when I came in, up 20, down 25 by the time it was 8 o'clock, down only $9 at at before the number came out, and down 160 for the Dow before the market actually opened after the numbers came. Same situation with the NASDAQ, which went from up 40 to up 2 to down to 21 to down 60. And to give you an idea, the Dow closed down 339. Advanced declines were 3 to 2 to the negative, which is really not excessive. Nasdaq was also 3 to 2 and was down 150. Was down 153.52, almost 1.5%, barely beaten out by the down 206 or 1.51 of the Dow Jones transports. The S&Ps were down 44 and change, 1.16, and the Russell down 19.35. That was down 1.09%. Um, we had some pretty interesting numbers today. And of course, the thing that got me absolutely the most aggravated was my position in SI, who, had leverage, or not leverage, reverse collateral. They had collateral 5 to 1 in any loans that they made on Bitcoin. The only way they could have lost money on those deals is if they went to zero, which of course nobody really thought it would, and it hasn't. But what has happened is the Department of Justice is seizing assets related to FTX, Alameda, and Robinhood. So in fact, they did take them to zero because they're getting no recompense for losing that. ConAgra opened this morning at 40.78 on a beat of earnings. Closed 39.97, up $1.35 or 3.4%. The comment by ConAgra is that their price rises are meeting inflation. So they think that it may come back a bit, but clearly ConAgra is a defensive company that has plenty of pricing power. Vera, I mentioned it yesterday, closed yesterday $6.46, down 65%, 11.82. Today it made a new all-time low of $5.50, and it closed at 564, down 82 cents, or 12.69%. I mentioned this morning Lordstown, they're going to be cutting their production even further. That stock is down from uh, let me think about this. The ride, it was down from a high of 31.80. So from 31.80 to $1.06, it's only lost 98% of its market value. As far as the sectors go, on the downside were financials, work from home, infrastructure, pot, and defense. On the mixed side, we had biopharma and retail. And the only two that were up today were energy, with the bounce back in the oil, and airline and cruise line. So, you know, not overwhelming. As I said, the dollar was up 80 cents, even though the bonds were basically unchanged. And let's just take a look here. So grains are down again. These were at the close. This is not reopened, and it won't for a while. Oil up 27 cents after being up 83 cents during the day. So it's trying to make a stand down here between 72 and 74, which is not surprising. I mentioned it this morning. Net gas is up 3 cents. Gee, down 45 on the day, up 3 cents in the overnight. Not really great. The gold is down another 280 after being down about 18. Yesterday, I don't remember what the exact number was, but we were substantially higher. I think yesterday we were up $12 at 18.59. So, now we've given that back plus 50% more. Silver continues lower. It was down yesterday when gold was up. It was down this morning. And at the close, before this reopening, 23.42, down 54 cents. And I'm taking a really hard look at that because I think it's getting a little overdone and getting back into support. My favorite one, as I mentioned it on Sunday, I mentioned it on Tuesday, is the copper. Unfortunately, the copper tends to make its move overnight. So, we were down as low as 370. I was looking at, in this area right around 367, 368. It did get down as low as 370.85, but right now is 382 and 3/4, and that's up pretty nicely. It's only 17. It's really only 6/10 or 0.65, but on the day today, besides that, 1 second, I'm looking at the daily. I want to show you the daily. Okay, so it got down when I talked about it last night. We had stopped on the downside at 371, let's call it, and it was right on that 50-day moving average. This morning started with a little bit higher high, also just barely touching that 50-day, and got up to 384. So yesterday's 370, up 371 to today's 384. This is a very large and very leveraged contract, and so it really shows there. I'm looking for something to do, but most of the stocks like Rio Tinto, PBR, FCX, All of these are SCCO, which is Southern Copper, and Vale. They're all overbought. Even though we were down here when I looked at it last night, um, even though they were down in the copper, the stocks were actually overbought, which is another reason why I didn't do anything there. Okay, I guess that's about it. Um, Tomorrow, of course, we have the big numbers. Tomorrow, the first thing that we have is, let's see, tomorrow is the 6th. No. Okay, tomorrow we have 8:30 non-farm payrolls, 8:30 non-farm payrolls, private payrolls, 8:30 the unemployment rate, the average hourly earnings, the average work week, and then at 10 we have ISM manufacturing and factory orders. So what's going to be big here after seeing these numbers today, I really expect them to, kind of mirror what we've already seen. Um, I think we're going to be in. I mentioned this morning, I thought we were on the razor's edge that could go either way. And I want to say down 340 after being down 400 is pretty much showing us the direction. All right, everyone. I'll be back first thing in the morning and I will get to work on the daily note.